our children.
No quarter, brother.
USA! USA! USA!
We're gonna keep it juicy.
Anything that the politicians fear that are in City Hall right now.
Back up, guys. Back up. Stand with us. Stand with us.
Man, I need some cops right here.
Must go! Joe must go! Joe must go!
Resist arrest, you may be charged with additional crimes. Since you have
USA! USA!
We don't need this hate. That's not what this is supposed to be. But this is what they make it. It's hate. Migrants are welcome here.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, you hate to see it, but you also love to see it, okay? You hate to see the border of this United States be taken over and invaded by illegals. We don't know who they are. We don't know where they come from. We don't know anything about them, okay? But the Biden administration is letting these people into this country. You hate to see it. But what you love to see is Democrats facing consequences for their voting, as you have liberal cities like Chicago and New York that are now boohoo, whining, and crying about what their cities, their areas, their districts basically voted for, okay? They voted for an open border when they voted for Joe Biden. And now these cities, because they're experiencing the crisis firsthand, these red state governors like DeSantis and Greg Abbott got smart about it and decided that, you know what, since the Biden administration isn't going to close the border or do anything about the border crisis, we're just going to send the border to New York and Chicago, these liberal sanctuary cities. And now everything that we said, okay, as conservatives about the negatives, the downsides of illegal immigration, all of a sudden it's not a racist conspiracy theory anymore. It is a fact, right? That they're not a net positive on the economy, okay? That they do take up resources and they do bring violence and crime with them in some cases, okay? This is not controversial. This isn't racist. This is just a fact, okay? This is common sense, right? But when red states were screaming about it, they said that we were racist, okay? Now that Democrats and blue states are screaming about it, now we're supposed to have sympathy for them and we're supposed to understand, right? And now we're supposed to do something about the problem, okay? These people have become the toughest advocates when it comes to closing the border. So like I said, these cities have experienced this crisis and they're boohoo, whining, and crying. And don't get me wrong, there are a lot of people in the city, even though they voted liberal overwhelmingly, there are a lot of people that still voted Trump. And the people that voted Trump are not having this, okay? They're fed up. They're tired of the liberal leadership in their cities that basically supported this nonsense. And it's gotten to the point now where violent protests have broken out in New York City. Curtis Sliwa, who was the GOP candidate to take on Eric Adams in the New York City mayor race, he actually ended up getting arrested during one of the protests. And this is what Eric Adams had to say about it. We're asked about his political opponent getting arrested. Take a look.
What are your thoughts about that to be open to housing?
Well, anytime you start out a question with the name Curtis Sliwa, that in itself states that it would do a disservice to me and other New Yorkers for me to even respond to that. Curtis Sliwa? I mean, if you go look in a dictionary for the word buffoon and tell me what picture you come up with.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that, okay? You got Eric Adams engaged in name calling, okay? Calling Curtis Sliwa a buffoon because he disagrees with Eric Adams politically, and he's criticizing Eric Adams for the terrible job that he's done managing that city, especially when it comes to this illegal immigration crisis. Now, with that being said, again, like I said, there have been violent protests across the city due to, you know, these illegal migrants being stationed in the city and being housed in places like schools. That makes a whole lot of people uncomfortable. In fact, I want you guys to check out this protest that took place on Staten Island, a place where there's a lot more red voters there than you would think. A lot of these people voted for Trump. But again, they're upset because they're trying to house illegals in their local schools. Take a look.
Late this afternoon, migrants started arriving at St. Johnville Academy just as a judge ruled the city could not use the old school as a shelter. About 30 migrants are now refusing to leave, left in limbo with nowhere else to go as the city appeals the judge's decision.
About 20 other migrants who arrived this afternoon decided to leave the shelter on their own after they were heckled by protesters outside of the school. They said that they did not feel safe. Eyewitness News reporter Jim Dolan is live on Staten Island with the very latest. Jim.
Liz, the people of Staten Island said no today, and they meant it. The mayor planned to house migrants from the southern border at this former grade school in a fully residential neighborhood with 4 other schools filled with children nearby. The city brought the migrants in, and they were greeted by their new neighbors.
You're not welcome.
A migrant crisis came to Staten Island today as dozens of recent immigrants were bused to a former Catholic school here for housing. Residents were furious.
Go home. Where's the children? You're not welcome.
We have an all-girls Catholic high school literally 50 feet from this facility. If your 16-year-old daughter attended this school, would you want a migrant shelter right across the street?
Come down here and see this neighborhood and what's here and how the children are so close to it. We're not going to stand for it. I'm very sorry. We're not going to do it. I fought before for Hill, and I'll fight now for Hill. And I'm not moving from this spot till this is closed. That is it.
Not having control at the border is insanity.
Public officials from the borough held a news conference at the site and promised a lawsuit to prevent the school from being used as a shelter. And by early afternoon, they appear to have won.
And he ruled that there's an emergency temporary restraining order from anyone occupying this building. For now, Staten Island's won.
Soon, the migrants who had just arrived 2 hours earlier were on their way out.
And it's not our responsibility. You know, come on. No one's giving me free food. No one's giving me free housing.
Now, we have not been allowed into the school. We can't tell whether all of the migrants have left. We are told that some have refused to leave and are still staying, but the court order requires them to leave, and the matter will be reconsidered at another court hearing in September.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that, okay? They're trying to force migrants into schools, hotels. They're basically doing everything they can to try to accommodate these people instead of, sending them back where they came from, which I really don't understand why they're not doing that, okay? I think it's cheaper at this point to send them back to, I don't know, Venezuela, right? Rather than to do what they're doing now, again, which apparently is costing the city billions of dollars, right? Billions of dollars, okay? I'm pretty sure with billions of dollars, we could send them all back, right? I'm pretty sure it would cost way less to do that, okay? I mean, again, it should be paid for by the New York taxpayers' dime because a vast majority of these people voted for it. But instead, they want to beg for federal money, right? They want to beg from federal money from the Biden administration. Not only that, they also want to speed up work authorization permits so that these illegals can proceed to take the jobs there from people that, live and that was born in the city and that actually, came into the country legally, okay? Yeah, no, they want to go ahead and just basically allow these illegals to work and to basically, again, take other people's jobs. Take a look.
Just started about 20 minutes ago, and so far there's about 100 people here. Many of them seem to be from labor unions. Look, this is a very unique type of rally sponsored by New York City government. Mayor Eric Adams calling on New Yorkers and business leaders to come out this morning to pressure the Biden administration to give work permits to thousands of migrants in an expedited way. They want to really alleviate the overcrowding at city shelters. The city says the faster they can get migrants working legally, the quicker the 60,000 migrants who are in the overcrowded shelter system can get out. And yesterday, New York Governor Kathy Hochul, she visited the White House. She did not meet with President Biden. Instead, she spoke with his chief of staff and Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas about the migrant crisis here in New York. The White House saying they would help the city identify migrants who are eligible for work permits and reach out to them with texts and emails.
I walked out of there with a sense they are committed. I have pressed the White House to find a path so we can get more people working. They're starting tomorrow with a app notification for people who have applied to come into this country under the CBP app.
This as the blame game continues. Mayor Eric Adams blames Governor Hochul for not forcing suburban communities to take in migrants. Hochul says the city has been slow to respond. Both are blaming Mayorkas and the Biden administration, which says Congress is at fault for not having a better border plan. All of this as the city is losing patience. There have been more and more protests, including a violent clash that was on Sunday. And critics say ultimately, Dana, that look, if you expedite these work permits, you could be doing nothing but incentivizing more migrants to come to the city. That's already seeing about 10,000 migrants a month at a cost of $12 billion over the next 3 years.
Brian, it's like you could hear Aisha and I saying, wait, isn't this going to cause more people to come? Right. Thank you.
Yeah, again, doing everything except sending them back, right? That's what they should be doing. I'm so serious. $12 billion, bruh. I'm pretty sure with $12 billion, they can send all these illegals back. Okay, look, go back. Don't try again. We don't have room. Okay, sorry. We got to take care of our own people first. Again, $12 billion. You know what $12 billion can do to clean up homelessness, to help out homeless vets, to clean up these streets across this country, right? These liberal cities. $12 billion can do a lot for this country. But instead, it's being spent on illegals, okay? When for a fraction of that cost, we could all pack them into a bunch of military planes and send them back to, again, where they came from. Okay, too bad, so sad. Again, this is not me being a bad person. This is not me trying to be evil. This is not me being xenophobic, okay? I am simply just being practical about it. I'm putting Americans first. We have our own problems. Again, clearly this city can't handle the influx of migrants. Clearly it is definitely weighing on their social safety net. Clearly it is weighing on the public funds that are available to help Americans. So, I mean, at what point are you just going to say, you know what, we just got to send them back? We can't handle it anymore. It's cheaper just to send them back. It is what it is. But hey, no, Democrats, what they do instead of sending them back, they say, oh, well, we're going to help them work. We're going to help them get jobs. And you know they're going to work for less than the average person. So what they're going to do is that they're going to take jobs that Americans should be doing. Okay. They're going to now start their families and they're going to move into the neighborhoods. And that's what's going to happen because of Democrat leadership. Again, it's crazy how when this stuff was in the red states, these same people tried to gaslight us and tried to convince us that, oh, no, we're being xenophobic and racist for having these same complaints. When now the border has been moved to New York, has been moved to Chicago, now they're saying firsthand that, nah, it wasn't racism and xenophobia. This was reality. This was reality. This is what happens. So, hey, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.